Hello, I'm the accidental bookseller. My name is Paul. Welcome to the channel. By all means, click subscribe if you like what you see. Today, it's the 54321 challenge, which I saw on a video by Linger Longer with Books. But before I get onto that, I thought I'd give you an update on the channel in the coming days and weeks. So I've been away for a week. As you may know if you've seen the other videos, I went up to Scotland for a week, including Wigtown. Got quite a bit of footage there in bookshops, and obviously bought some books. You don't go to Wigtown and not come away with any books. So I've got quite a bit of footage there to edit, and I've not seen it yet, but I think it'll be all right. It's just a question of how much footage is enough in terms of how much do you want to see of just bookshops and bookshelves. Yeah, I did a fair bit. I got a fair bit of footage, and yeah, I think it'll be all right. So I've got that to edit. I reckon that'll take about a week to a fortnight to get that done. So I'm targeting maybe getting that issued in about a fortnight's time, because I've got plenty of other stuff in the works. I've just recorded a non-fiction book haul. I've got a similar fiction book haul to do, and I've got a little bit behind on tags. So I've got the philosophy of reading tag to do, the mammoth book tag to do, 25 questions. I've got another one. Tracy Nordic Light did it, and I said in chatting that I did it. What's that? It was just various questions about yourself rather than reading. Yeah, so I've got that to do. I've got the Muppet tag to do. What I thought I'd do though is get a few other videos out the way just to mix things up, because I'm conscious that I did a few tags recently that are already there to watch, and we'll go back to doing a few more generic book type things, hauls and other non-tags, and then I've got these other tags to do. So that'll be next week, I would imagine. That'll do them. Also, the philosophy of reading tag doesn't require any books at all to be shown, so I'm going to try and do that outside. Not sure where yet. I've got a bit of an idea. We'll see. Something different. I think that's probably it for update, but I just wanted to give you an idea of what sort of videos you can expect in the days and weeks to come. So this video is primarily the 54321 challenge that I saw Catherine at Linger Longer with Books do. And basically there's 5 different chunks where there's a particular category of bookish type stuff. There's 5 books that I love, 4 books on my TBR, 3 books I'll always recommend, 2 recent books I've read, and what's my current read. So without further ado, the 5 books that I love. Initially, I thought of doing favourite books in terms of the content, what are my favourite reads. But I'm conscious that I'm planning to do a video soon of my all-time favourite books. And given that the number 3 is 3 books I'll always recommend, if I did 5 books that I've loved in terms of reading, that's 8 books that are probably going to be on my all-time list. But then I figured, oh, what about books that I love in terms of appearance or for other reasons other than necessarily the content? Obviously the content's great, but it doesn't necessarily have to be about loving a story or something that you would traditionally term as a favourite read. So I looked at it in terms of favourite book. So without further ado, what have I picked? You'll see what I mean in a minute. So this one is the complete works of Shakespeare with my initials on, leather bound, really, really thick, big, quite thick boards, but really thick, bouncy leather with the metal corners. It's just absolutely beautiful. And I got this for Christmas off my mum and dad when I was probably about, I'm going to say 20-ish. So yeah, well over 35 years ago. And it's just beautiful. And it's something that you don't have to you don't have to bother getting individual Shakespearean plays to buy. Whenever you fancy reading one, you just dip in. Or if you go into, like, I lived in Stratford upon Avon, so saw a few productions. So if there's one that you haven't read, you just dip in and read it. And it's just, yeah, a book that I love. The next book is probably my most expensive book in terms of value. And this is Clive Barker's Damnation Game, but it's a special unedited proof of the Damnation Game. So he started life as a writer doing the Books of Blood, which are compendiums of short stories. He became more famous for Weaveworld, which came out around the same time as Hellraiser. But prior to that, his first novel was The Damnation Game. I got into him around the time of Weaveworld. But there was a shop in London called the Fantasy Centre, run by two old chaps, pre-internet, so there was no logging on and seeing what they had. You got a catalogue through the post each month with a really nice sort of cover art to the catalogue, typically something from the Cthulhu mythos, the H.P. Lovecraft type picture. But then there was just reams of titles and what they were charging, predominantly secondhand, in fact, pretty much all secondhand. And so I would look forward eagerly to getting this. And some of my older Brian Lumley Arkham House stuff has come through that, and other Lumley and Barker stuff as well. Some of the signed stuff. Well, this particular book was there, and an unedited proof is something that's got, there's no particular back or cover or dust jacket or anything. It is what it is, and what it says, an unedited proof, where there'll be mistakes, there'll be marks. So for instance, there is a mistake that'll need correcting. I've never got it bound. This is how it is. And inside one of the pages is, to Dave, whoever Dave is, best wishes, Clive, 14th of December 1986, 11th of December. Whether it's a Dave connected to the Fantasy Centre, I don't know, because I think the guy who produced the drawings on the catalogues might have been called Dave. Whether it's connected to that, I don't know, or whether they simply got a book that had it in it already, I don't know. I've mentioned it to Phil and Sarah Stokes, who are kind of the custodians of Clive's information and the historical collection of books. And they've produced their own books on Clive as well, which I've got quite a few of them scattered around the place. They didn't know, so it's just something to treasure. There are two similar books for sale on eBay around the £350 to £500 mark, but the drawing isn't anywhere close to being as thorough as this. So I would certainly be looking for it. Not that I would sell it, but I think you're looking anything above £500 for it. But never sell it, because it's one of my pride and joys. So yeah, one of my favourite books, one of the 5 favourite books. The next one is a book about William Morris. I love this book. I got it second hand. I mean, God knows what it cost originally. I mean, it's reasonably old anyway. It's not got a price on. It was undervalued when I bought it. I think I paid, I want to say £12. But there's a lot of text about William Morris, but there's also plenty of design stuff. And if you're into William Morris, this is just a fantastic book to get. Edited by Linda Parry, by Philip Wilson Publishers in association with the Victoria and Albert Museum. Just one of my favourite books. The fourth of the 5 favourite books that I've chosen is probably the most I've paid for a book, which is Christie & Death's Only Theatre of Pain anniversary book. It's photography by Edward Culver. Edward Culver followed the band round in the early infancy of the band in the early 80s in Los Angeles, and has quite a collection of just fantastic pictures. There's some that I can't show. Concert footage. It's just, that one's fantastic. Interviews with various band members at the time when Roz created the band. If you watch my 8 memories tag, you'll know about my history. Sleeping rough, going to every concert in the UK. Roz had left by this stage, but fortunately, because I knew the band, and namely Jitan Damon, who was in Christie & Death at the time that I was following them, I stopped following them when she left. Her and Roz did a album of, kind of call it Parisian, Berliner, cafe noir music in about 1996, after she left the band. And fortunately, I got to meet Roz then through knowing Jitan and being able to get backstage just to meet him, get some stuff signed. He took his own life 2 years later. So this particular book is a celebration of the first proper album, Only Theatre of Pain, and all the photographs are by Edward Culver. There is this cost me about, it was a Kickstarter book, so it cost me about 70 or 80 quid. But there is a signed one where all the key members of the band at that time, I think Jitan and Larry, Rozzy's brother, it's all signed. But that was a few hundred quid, and it was kind of hard to justify. But I'm just happy with this. It's just a beautiful, beautiful book. It's, some of the other books I've chosen 5 just because I had to choose 5. Well, this is in my favourite class of book. The 5th of the 5 favourite books that I've chosen is my book on Peter Bruegel. Peter Bruegel is my favourite painter. If I had to quickly name me 5 favourite painters, there would be Bruegel, Hieronymus Bosch, Francisco de Goya, Ellis Lowry, Canaletto. But Peter Bruegel is my favourite. And in 2013, I think it was, I went for a week, or it was about 10 days, where, as I've said on a previous video, one of my favourite sports is professional cycling. So I really wanted to see Paris-Roubaix and the Ron van Vonderen, the Tour of Flanders. So what I did is, and they were a week apart. So went to Belgium, to Flanders, stood on the Paterberg, which is a famous cobbled climb for the Tour of Flanders, and then during the week in between, I went around various World War One cemeteries and monuments. Got to visit the grave of my great cousin Angus Dodgson, who passed in the First World War while fighting. I also spent 2 days in Brussels. Brussels Museum has lots of Bruegels, and I went there to see the Bruegels. My favourite painting is The Triumph of Death. Probably can't. I don't know whether I can put that up because that might be that might come under copyright. I don't know. But look up The Triumph of Death painting by Bruegel, and it's kind of Hieronymus Bosch like in that irreverent style. Don't know whether you can see that. There's lots of writing and text as well, but it's just a very, very thorough book. It wasn't cheap. What's the price on this? I thought it was dearer than what it's 25 quid. I thought it was actually dearer than what I thought it was. One of my favourite books. It's another one where you don't necessarily need to read it cover to cover. You can dip in and out of. Yeah, lovely. So that's my 5 favourites. That took a bit longer than I had planned. The next topic is 4 books on my TBR. So the first of those that I've picked is The Toy Makers by Robert Dinsdale. Really nice floppy book, this. It's got a nice feel to it. The Emporium opens with the first frost of winter. While the Great War wages across Europe, there is a place of hope and enchantment in the heart of London. The Emporium sells toys that capture the imagination of children and adults alike, patchwork dogs that seem alive, toy boxes that are bigger on the inside, soldiers that can fight battles on their own. Into this family business comes young Kathy Ray, running away from a shameful past. But Kathy is about to discover that the Emporium has secrets of its own. This is a dark, enchanting novel for fans of the night circus and the miniaturist. It's a lovely cover as well. The second of the books on my TBR, Metropole by Ferenc Corinthi. I've read this before, but I keep seeing it on my shelf and I can't for the life remember how it finishes. It's essentially about a guy who's on a train I think he's on a business trip, if I remember, and the train pulls into a station and he doesn't recognise the station, and it's in a completely bizarre foreign country, almost a foreign land that he's never heard of before, and essentially he can't get out of the place, i.e. the town, not the station. It's a 1984 type situation, but it feels very modern as well, not from a 1984 perspective, but the claustrophobic nature of the modern city, of how everybody is running from one place to another and they're unconnected and uncommunicative with their neighbour. I do remember it being a fantastic book, but it's just odd that I just can't remember how it ends. So I want to read it soon so I can remember again, because it is a good book. The third book, I think I mentioned this on my mid-year reads, and it's Patrick Barkham, Badgerlands. I love badgers, want to know more about their, I can say, lifestyle. They don't go to nightclubs or do paintings or watch telly, but you know what I mean by the lifestyle of badgers, just how they live. Got this second hand for £4. Fourth book in the TBR, is All the President's Men by Carl Bernstein and Bob Woodward. I want to know more detail about this situation. Obviously, I've seen TV, I'm pretty sure I've seen the film, can't be sure. I got it, I didn't pay full price, I got it around the £5 mark, and yeah, it's on my TBR. The next one is 3 books I'll always recommend. These are not just favourite books, they're not just all-time favourite books. Well, at least 2 of them are, I don't want to be morbid here, but when I eventually leave this mortal coil and they put me in the ground, with me, I want my favourite books, I want my favourite CDs. I don't mean something on the scale of so loads of stuff like an Egyptian pharaoh, obviously, but just select items that I just want them with me. And at least 2 of these I want for that purpose because they're so special. The first is The Road by Cormac McCarthy. This is just an unbelievable book. If you haven't read it, you've got to read it. It's just absolutely magnificent. It's not a long book. It's quite, the writing is quite far apart, quite big text. 290 odd pages, but it's a really quick read because of the way that you've got gaps in between. Basically, there's been some kind of society ending event. You never know when it starts what's happened, whether it's a nuclear situation or a virus, but basically humanity is gone apart from a very, very select number of people. And this book is about a father and a son who start walking from one place to another. They're heading slowly for the coast because I think the father, if I remember, the father wants his son to see the coast and the sea. And there's various things happen along the way. I don't really want to give too much away. That's as much as I'm going to give away. I plead with you not to investigate it in any way. Do not watch the film. Although this wasn't the version. I've since bought this book because I gave my original copy away. I got the copy with Viggo Mortensen and the little boy on the cover, and it's quite a good cover because as you're reading the book, you envisage those characters. I hadn't seen the film at the time. I've watched the film since, but again, I plead with you: do not watch the film. Do not do any investigation. Just read the book. It's just, it is breathtakingly magnificent, and I can't say any more. But just, yeah, The Road by Cormac McCarthy. I recommend it all the time to people. So the second book I want to recommend is Neil Gaiman's Stardust. I've tended not to recommend it since the news broke about Gaiman's apparent behaviour, which I won't go into. I mean, it's a tricky one of what happens when you've got a fantastic book and an author in a tricky situation regarding his supposed apparent behaviour, and how much you want to recommend it. You want to recommend it because of the book, but do you really want to? And it's a tricky one. It is an absolutely fantastic book, a fantasy book, written in a typical Gaiman style. In my opinion, the best Gaiman book, better than Coraline, better than Neverwhere, although Neverwhere's good. So if you don't mind reading stuff where there's stuff out there regarding the author, I guess there's plenty of books through time immemorial where that occurs. If you don't mind that sort of thing, Neil Gaiman's Stardust is a book that previously I've always recommended. Now the next book, or the third book out of the three, and again, this is a book that I'm taking with me into the afterlife, shall we say. And I mentioned it on the 8 memories tag. And I'm going to not get upset this time because I'm not going to go through the detail of it. But it's The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. Just an utterly sensational read. Beautifully translated by Lucia Graves. And as I think I've said before, I've read books where there's different translators have been used for the same author for different books, and they just feel like different writers have done it. But Lucia has translated all Carlos's books. There won't be any more because he passed a couple of years ago. But what he left behind is it's just magnificent. Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. So we're now on to 2 recent books that I've read. Covered this in the mid-year reads because this is the book that I read about 4 books ago, 3 books ago. It's Jack Finney's The Body Snatchers. My favourite read this year so far, although my current read might be on the verge of beating it, which might be a surprise to you when I tell you what it is. But yeah, it's a great read, and I've since seen the film, the actual original 1950s film, which is actually quite true to the book. From my memory, the later Donald Sutherland film is a bit different to the book from what I remember of the Donald Sutherland film. But this 1950s film is quite true to the book, but they've changed the ending, and I'm not convinced the ending works in the film. But I won't say any more. I don't do spoilers for book reviews, but very, very enjoyable read. The Body Snatchers by Jack Finney. The second of the 2 recent reads is Flash Forward by Robert J. Sawyer. And I read this because I really enjoyed the TV series that was shown in about, I want to say 2010-ish, maybe a little bit earlier, but it was just after Lost finished. And I think people were a bit Lost fatigued in terms of an ongoing mystery in a series that might be never ending. And this the first series, well, the only series, had probably a few too many episodes than there should have been, and it just felt like it was going in a lost direction. And having read this book, I'm wondering whether it actually might have done the TV series, because I have never in my entire life read a book that is completely and utterly different to the TV series. It says the novel behind the TV series, but that's about it. So the premise is time stops for 2 minutes. Planes fall out of the sky, cars crash, people fall to the floor if they're just walking in the street. Time stops for, I think it's 1 minute 43 seconds. And during that period, everyone does pass out, and they have a flash forward into what happens in 21 years' time, I think it is. That is about the extent of the connecting piece between the book and the TV series. The TV series concentrates on police detective investigating stuff around it, whereas this is based around CERN in Switzerland and Hadron Colliders. Completely different. I enjoyed it. I'm going to give it I haven't done it in my book reads value for this yet, but it's probably going to get a 4. I might end up giving it a 3. It's on the cusp of 3 and 4, but it might be a slight 4. I enjoyed it anyway. Could I recommend it? I'm not sure. It's not quite in the recommending stakes. It's all right. And the final one is, what am I reading at the moment? What's my current read? I got this book because I quite fancied it earlier in the year, although I thought it was going to be somewhat childlike, something of a children's crossover book. So I got it. Then it's actually this month's book club read. So I'm reading it for that. Boy, it's absolutely fantastic. What page am I on? I'm on page 125 at the moment. I'm not going to call it Tolkien-esque, but it's just very, very good fantasy in a fantasy universe that you'll all know because it's the Wizard of Oz universe, and the book is wicked. It is not anywhere close to what I was expecting. I've not seen the film, so I've no idea what the film's about or the content of it. But it was clear pretty early doors that it's not a children's book, and you wouldn't have a kid going anywhere near the book because there's probably more adult, I'm not going to say content, but adult type references in this book than of any book that I've read combined this year. It's just really, really good. It's a really good fantasy book based upon a universe that you've all seen because you've pretty much all of you has watched The Wizard of Oz. There are another 3 books in the series. I will be getting them. There may be a big letdown because I'm on page 125 of 495. So it could go downhill. But on the basis of what I'm reading so far, this has the makings of being the best book I've read this year. And I'm not joking. It's a good book. So there we are. That's the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 challenge. It's not the sort of thing where you tag people. It's not a tag. But if you want to do it, by all means do it, because I found it interesting. It lets you know a bit more about the person doing the challenge in terms of their interests, because it covers non-fiction, fiction. With the favourite 5 books, you can do it. You can treat it however much you want it. It could be your 5 favourite books in terms of content, or like I've done, 5 books that you just generally love for other reasons. So yeah, have a go if you want. So that's it for this episode. If you like what you've seen, by all means click like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thank you very much. Goodbye.